It all started a long time ago, in a world that was completely made up. A fantasy piggy island, where silly costumes were fashionable, and weapons were, how to put it, a bit different. Enter a new breed of hero, in a game that's truly epic.
Hello everyone, it's the Axle Shifter here, and I'm finally back with another Forlorn Classics video. I mean, sorry it took me about 2 weeks or something. Yeah, this Forlorn Classics episode today is going to be about another rovio game, much like Retry. This is an Angry Birds game, a lost one now, but I will never be forgotten since I did play this before a lot, and I had a lot of fun with it. This I'm talking about, of course, is Angry Birds Epic. An Angry Birds RPG-like type game where the Angry Birds fight the pigs or to get the eggs back in a very classic fucking, I don't know, Final Fantasy stuff type of shit. And it's really, really interesting. And I really want to get into this because Angry Birds as a series has dived into so many different genres in order to branch out from the classic genre of slingshots from pigs to, yeah, everything else like racing, Transformers, you know, fighting. And I really want to get into that. So yeah, let's go into this.
Angry Birds Epic, also known as Angry Birds Epic RPG, or just Angry Birds RPG, is a role-playing Angry Birds video game that was part of the Angry Birds series. It was developed by Rovio in 2014, but unfortunately, as of 2019, the game has been officially removed from the App Store and delisted from the Google Play Store, being silently discontinued, while Rovio just said it was for just testing purposes. Ha! Scummy Rovio. Okay, what the fuck am I doing? But anyways, yeah, Angry Birds Epic was pretty different from the standard Angry Birds game, at least the original anyways, because most of the other games in the Angry Birds series also differed from the standard Angry Birds genre that the original game had set up. Transformers was about Angry Birds crossover to Transformers, Angry Birds Go was about racing, Space was about traveling to space, and so on and so forth. But with this game, this takes on a pretty much more classic style RPG style where you control your character and you tap another enemy and that character would attack the enemy, and then along the way you would gain more characters and get more power-ups and weaponry and more powerful items as you progress through it. Now, even through the tutorial, as you see right here, this is a pretty standard attacking move, but the pigs slowly become more powerful and use more complex methods to try and get you, and you would have to do the same if you want to progress through the game and eventually get the eggs back, like we see in the story of this game, which pretty much happens in every scenario in this game at this point because, well, the birds and the pigs constantly fight over getting the eggs back at this point, even in the more standard stuff, modern stuff like the movies, for example, with the more anthro-nice designs. But yeah, I think it's now time we talk about the game itself. The game itself is really good, and I really like the new style and new genre type of gameplay it's set up with. Now, its game does have its share of flaws, for example, like I kind of would have preferred how it could have been a more action really type game. Now, this game does have action in it, but I would much rather prefer if you would actually manage to use combat moves and stuff and actually defeat them. I mean, this could have been a full-blown, maybe Angry Birds fighting game, I suppose. Well, that's what Fight's for, but it's not really a full-blown fighting game. It's more like just a Candy Crush puzzle game where you use that and the birds just fight the pigs on the top of the screen. No, I would probably like a full-blown Angry Birds fighting game, and Epic seems like the perfect way to start that because the pigs and the birds are fighting each other using these swords and weapons. So maybe in this game, probably in my opinion, they should have done was really expand on their powers and abilities and maybe bring in more pig types to make the game more challenging as you went on. But that's really one of my only few problems with this game. But other than that, I would say that the rest of the game is really solid so far. For example, I really like the designs of some of the weapons here, for example, like Red's helmet and shield egg with an egg on it. I really like that detail, and I like how most of the items are just pretty standard looking weaponry, but they can still do pretty massive damage. And And I also like some of the designs of the newer pigs here, because look at this pig, for example. He looks fucking angry as shit, but he looks like a fucking caveman, because that's essentially what he is. But still, I really like that aspect about him. And now for the other characters, we have Chuck here, and Bomb and Matilda, the Blues, and the many others. And they guys are actually really fun to play as, and they use several different items. Now, they don't really differ in the natural power sense, because from a gameplay standpoint, they basically play the exact same way as to most of the enemies of this game, such as taking turns for enemies to attack. But still, the other characters really do add that type of stuff to really know that despite the fact that they play the same, they still really play kind of well. And I especially loved playing as Chuck back then when I was younger, when I first got this game. I mean, seriously, it was fucking epic as shit, dude. And as usual, I think it's time we talk about the OST/soundtrack of this game. Now, like most Angry Birds games, the soundtrack has been really good so far, and it shows that the development team know that despite this being a mobile game, they still put a lot of care and effort into their games. Well, I mean, I guess you could say it for at least the older ones, because I haven't played the newer ones, but I don't know. It just doesn't really fit and feel the same as the older games, especially when it comes to the soundtrack part, because listen to this, for example. And I think that's gonna end my coverage on Angry Birds Epic. Truly, this game is really something special, and it really shaked up the genre of the Angry Birds franchise, and just to see how far Rovio is willing to branch out for the Angry Birds series. And despite the fact that it's no longer on the App Store and it's delisted from the Google Play Store, I think you can still download an APK of this game, because, you know, older games that have been removed from the App Store could still be downloaded using an APK if they even exist at all, or even listed there, or through other APK sites. So yeah, I mean, if you really want to try this game, I guess you could try it out. I'm not quoting or anything, not promising you absolutely will play the game, at least in its original form, but still. And yeah, I think that's it for Angry Birds Epic. See you later, everyone. Goodbye.